Can you hear the approaching ruin? There are a lot of things that last forever: death, taxes, and Concord likes, which is what I'm going to attempt to talk about today. The original Concord was an unappealing game. It had ugly characters, terrible color palette, and mid at best gameplay. It released and closed within a few days, and that should have been pretty much the end of it. One failed live service game out of many. Not much else to say there besides the fact that it cost a bit more than the others. However, a few years later, we would get High Guard, another hero shooter live service game that when it finally released, it would have not had the immediate knee jerk reaction of ugly characters that Concord had, but still generic, forgettable characters at best, and a gameplay that felt like it was a mix of elements from lots of other video games, just not really in a way that enhanced the end experience. It would try and play like a huge raid hero shooter where all these characters are supposed to be on the field using their abilities at the same time, and it would be chaotic and fun. It would try and play like a tactical mindful shooter like Rainbow Six Siege, but like destroying and reinforcing walls, detonating bombs depending on which phase you're in. And it would have elements of like Fortnite or a battle royale where you're collecting guns and getting resources, guns with different rarities. Although lots of the guns in the game, despite its fantasy setting, would be generic assault rifles, shotguns, and revolvers. All these things together never really made a very compelling end product, and it couldn't really maintain its player base. In the end, none of those games were ever really that interesting themselves. But what is interesting is that how they both just failed in their initial appeal and presentation. I've said it before, but if you're making a hero shooter, a live service character based game, an RPG character driven game, then the most important thing you can do is make your characters interesting and cool. Ask yourself, do your players want to be this guy or this girl? Make characters that people want to invest themselves in. In case that's not clear enough, make characters people want to buy merchandise of, or character people would like want to just learn more about as soon as they see them. And if you can't do that, you can't make characters interesting or compelling visually, then make characters that are attractive. I feel like in both of these games and in a lot of Western games, they highly underestimate the importance and how far the appeal can go of making attractive characters. You'll get so many people who are so more lenient because there's a character that they like in the game. You'll get people checking out the game just because they think, oh, well, this character's hot. I wasn't going to look at it before, but maybe I will now. It's such an easy appeal when you need every possible piece of positivity you could get in such a competitive and crowded market. And you might think to yourself, well, I don't want to have to make a game like that. I don't want to have to make a game that feels fan servicey or pandering. And that's fine. You can make whatever game you want, but I wouldn't recommend basing your $100 million franchises without using those basic tools or taking those basic advantages. History has shown that we don't like games like that. They won't do well. You're not going to make a profit. And whether you like it or not, games are products. They're products first, and everything else second. If it's not an entertaining product, it doesn't matter what you do or what you think. If people aren't going to buy it, and you're not going to make money for long, your game's going to be forgotten. It's going to be used as YouTube post-mortem essays at the best. That's where it's going to end up. Even more so when you're asking $60, $40, whatever amount of money your game costs. People are going to have opinions on it. People are going to very clearly express the things that they like or dislike about the game. People are going to do that when you have a free product. If you say, for instance, you have a low effort free YouTube video, people are going to have opinions on whether they like or dislike that thing. So yeah, of course people are going to express whether they dislike or like the $60, $40 product that you made. Even if it's a free to play game, there's the idea that you're going to have to invest time and money into the game over a long period of time, and people are going to have opinions about that as well. It's obvious. It's these things that are obvious. However, while I think these games make a huge misstep in their first impressions and the way their characters look, the way their games look, I don't think that's the biggest issue that a lot of these games face. The biggest issue is many developers are making games for themselves without any thought to, is the player going to enjoy this or is the game even enjoyable? We have an overwhelming amount of games with characters that are elevated to positions of importance, often without putting in any time to make those characters interesting or likable for the player. And sometimes even at the cost of previous characters that you may have liked more in the past. Games where the dialogue just isn't good. They have an unwillingness to take concepts or ideas seriously. So they just treat all situations kind of like they were in a video game, even if it doesn't match the tone or settings. And when they want to talk about more serious concepts and ideas, they often just bluntly explain them to you instead of giving you any way to really engage or think about them. And games with dated gameplay that feel like they're from 6 or 7 years ago and haven't improved or made innovations. And when they do make changes, they're superficial changes that often cause more issues or just make the game longer, more tedious, unnecessary, even. And this is why I don't think it really would matter if lots of these companies were making a live service game or a single player game. It's not an issue of oversaturation. It's about creating a game that keeps your core player base and elevates that experience so that other people who might not be interested in that type of game are going to want to try it out. It's why we can have games like Rise of the Ronin, Ghost of Yote, Neo 3, Where the Winds Meet, and Phantom Blade Zero all come out in relatively short period of time, and people still feel hyped about those types of games in comparison to many of the games we're getting from Western studios. Video games that are aspiring to mediocrity or just to coast along on previous accolades. Games that come out and leave people feeling awkward, often selling below expectations. Games like Dragon Age The Veilguard, Saints Row Remake, Wolfenstein Youngblood, Avowed, Starfield, Immortals of Avium, almost anything Ubisoft within the past few years. All of these games are made within a bubble of positive toxicity, where they're making superficial surface level changes while ignoring core issues. And in some cases, they make completely new issues altogether, unforced errors. And so, yeah, when these games are talked about internally, they review well, but when they hold up to actual players, a lot of the time they don't. And when they say, oh, well, we don't want to make changes, they're going to end up liking it anyway. And they constantly keep saying these things, ignoring feedback, or just trying outright avoiding feedback altogether. And what happens is the game releases, it fails, and usually people lose their job. And I understand that sometimes it's a failure on the leadership where they're mandated to make live service games or games that they don't really want to. But I don't think they're always completely blameless. For instance, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a bad idea, but it's also executed badly. You couldn't find a way to make that game compelling or exceptional. Meanwhile, a game like Wuthering Waves is a gacha game, but it has actually exceptional standout combat. And it's because of things like that I think they should try and hold the people who are responsible for how the game turned out this way, accountable, rather than this all or nothing thing that most companies seem to have to do, or most people online seem to have to do, this illusion of choice. But after many Western games release, we still have our most common response, our most common post release response. All the negativity, all the backlash, any criticism of the game is dismissed as not negative gamers, toxic gamers who don't know what they're talking about, never made a video game, and all the criticism is just lies and rage baiting. This is one of the most infuriating common responses that comes from Western studios when they release a game that doesn't review well by players, is just the utter dismissal of everything people have to say about the game. And I'm sure there are some people who are just hating the game just to hate it, just because it's popular. But to bundle all criticism into something so disingenuous is clearly stupid, and it's clearly lying. And it doesn't matter if it's a game like Mind's Eye that reviews terribly, it's always, oh, there's actually a conspiracy of reviewers and content creators who are trying to keep my game from achieving success. There's actually nothing wrong with what I did. It's all great. Or if it's a game like Borderlands 4, which does relatively well, if you're having trouble running the game, or you think the game's not as funny or not as fun as it used to be, well, that's because you're stupid and you're poor and you don't know what you're talking about, idiot. Borderlands is forever. It's always these companies telling you that you're having fun wrong, you're doing everything wrong. And again, this is something that you don't see from Eastern studios, overseas studios, whatever. When Capcom came out with Monster Hunter Wilds and that wasn't reviewing well, you didn't hear them go, "Oh, well, you know what? We've put like 5,000 hours into the game. Making games is difficult, and this is actually the best product that we've made, and people who are upset don't know what they're talking about." Capcom just got to work and continued to deliver content, taking the game over time, improving issues, which is what people want. Nobody wants to hear how difficult the game is to make, especially when the product that they have isn't satisfying. No one wants to hear that they're having fun wrong or think that their opinion doesn't matter and see it dismissed so easily. At the end of the day, people just want you to put the fries in the bag. A quick note: I think "put the fries in the bag" is usually used to mean that people should get like a real job. In this case, I mean like when you go to like a fast food place, no one wants to hear you complain about how hard your job is. They just want you to put the fries in the bag so they can leave and get on with their day. And when you make a video game, no one wants to hear about how hard the job is. They want the end game to be good and they want to move on with their day. But game developers think they're in a unique position about how difficult their job is and that they can release games without any pushback, any criticism whatsoever. They're in this unique position where they alone need to be protected, comforted, coddled from the world, even though you're releasing a product to the world for money. It's something that obviously doesn't make sense when you think about it even a little, but for some reason it's incredibly debatable or divisive. Ignoring the values of visual appeal. Denial of all criticism in favor of making the game you want without any thought if it makes the game better or if the player will even enjoy it. And the failure to elevate or improve your gameplay in most other ways, we'll say. These are the main reasons why I think Western games are declining, why we have so many Concord likes, and why it's a stark contrast to many overseas games that were niche and are now more popular than ever. Games like Atlas's Metaphor ReFantazio, FromSoft's Armored Core 6, Capcom Monster Hunter World, all games that were pretty niche, or their companies were just pretty niche, and now enjoy immense popularity. I think Metaphor has a very striking, unique visual style in its enemies, in its characters, and its world building. I think its combat gives you more customization and personality than many other previous Atlas games. And I've always thought that Atlas was the master when it comes to storytelling and character development, and I think it holds true in Metaphor as well. Monster Hunter Wilds did a great job of streamlining elements of Monster Hunter and keeping all the great hack and slash elements that make the game fun. And it has some of the best visual environments in any Monster Hunter game. Even now, I like Monster Hunter World's areas like the Ancient Forest, the Coral Highlands, and Wildspire Waste more than areas in Rise and in Wilds. And Armored Core 6 is just a very fun, solid Armored Core game that controls better. It's got very good weapon and part variety. And it personally has one of my favorite endings in any FromSoft game ever. I got a little off topic to praise those games, but I do think it's important to compare, hey, this works, this doesn't work. I think it's important to say, hey, I don't just think that these things are bad. Here are things that I think are exceptional, and here's maybe a little reason of how I'll try to explain why. But nevertheless, we're coming full circle, and it's time to talk about the other Concord and Concord likes. We're two down. Obviously, the first one, the original Concord, is shut down. Highguard is pretty much in a state where it is awaiting shutdown. It's got like less than 1,000 players daily now. There's not much chance of it recovering. If it would recover, it would be one of the first games ever to recover from a situation like this. But now we've got our last two Concord likes. Marathon coming up in about a little under 2 weeks, and Horizon Hunters Gathering. So first up, Marathon. By the nature of it being a Concord-like, it has failed the charisma check, the initial visual appeal check, and all the guards are now hostile. But I've always thought that visuals are silver, but gameplay is gold. Actual gameplay loop and gunplay and loot, if that can all prove to be amazing, then You will be the Dragonborn, you'll be the Witcher, you'll be Al Gaib. All women will love you, all men will envy you, everything will be forgiven, and the game will just go on to success from there. If the gameplay is in fact great. The game wasn't received fairly well. It wasn't received super well from everything that I've heard, but I have also heard Bungie's been making changes. They've actually taken criticism and been making changes to improve the game. Very good. That's a first from any of the Concord likes, but again, none of them really survived that long, so. People don't like a lot of the characters now, but that could change in the future. They could add way more characters that people might like later. But Marathon does still walk a knife's edge with how people have responded to the past Concord likes. If it doesn't do well, it could crater really hard, and from there, I just don't have any examples of a game that recovered from such a terrible launch. The best it would be able to do is bleed out in less than a year. And Concord like number 4, Horizon Hunters Gathering. Out of all the Concord likes, I think that, well, one, I think Sony really loves the Horizon franchise. It came out after Bloodborne, a few years after Bloodborne, and since then it has a remaster to the original game, a sequel, a VR game. It had a they gave the license for Horizon to Lego, and now we've got Hunter's Gathering. So that's like 5 games that came out in less than 10 years for this one franchise. I think that math works out. Anyway, Sony loves Horizon. And as for their live service Horizon Hunters Gathering, I think it actually fares one of the worst out of all the Concord likes. I think it looks terrible. I think it presented itself terribly. I think the new art style does a disservice to Horizon. I think they chose like a safe, broad appeal one that's like Overwatch or maybe more like Fortnite. But I think it makes all the monsters look less threatening. I think it makes the game look less interesting. We can't say much about the gameplay because we basically haven't heard about it, but it's going to have to be pretty good because these characters are also awful. Almost all of them would be thrown out in the trash if you went by the idea of, do people want to be invested in this character, know more, buy merchandise of these characters, know more about these characters? Do you feel cool? I think except for maybe 2, they would probably all have been thrown out. The trailer had failed to inspire confidence in people from minute 1, and there's not much they can do to change a lot of that. It's a hero shooter. It's a hero based game that's gonna play. It sounds like maybe Monster Hunter or Elden Ring Night Rain, and there's not much you can do to change about the characters that are already in the game, which is again the most important thing, because you're going to be seeing them all the time. You're going to be hearing them all the time, playing as them all the time. It's rough for that game. We can't say much about it because besides the visuals, we don't have anything else to really go on, but it does not look good for that game. I have the least confidence for that game. Again, maybe cooler characters can be added later, but yeah, it's going to be a rough start. Anyway, that about finishes it. We're about wrapped up here. It took me a lot longer to make this video than I would have wanted, and lots of things have happened since, like Microsoft's CEO being replaced by AI, I think. Like Phil Spencer got replaced by AI, I think. And Sony getting rid of Bluepoint, which means the Bluepoint Bloodborne remake that people have been thinking might happen now that they're free of the God of War live service is definitely not going to happen. But on the bright side, there's lots of good games coming out. From Capcom alone, we've got like 3 new games and 3 updates to existing games in the near future, in this year. GTA 6 might come out this year, it might not. But overall, for the things I'm interested in, I'm pretty excited for the future. And that's about it. Goodbye.